Welcome back.
Thank you.
We always seem to exceed the time.
Because we prefer the Zoom and we like it.
Where's Nick? I still can't share my slide.
Okay, a minute. Okay, Doc, try now. Try now.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I said that they amplify the action of small molecules. So for example, septic shock, you have the lipopolysaccharide complex, produces interleukin 1, then it's small amounts, and then it produces larger amounts of interleukin 6 and 8, and further. So it amplifies the process. Then it can also, they are also produced by several different cells. So they are also pleiotropic. That means that they can act on different cells and cause different effects. So the same cytokine on a growth cell, on a cell can cause growth. The same one can cause differentiation in another cell type. Then they also have, they can also antagonize each other. And then they can also induce similar effects. So maybe 2 or 3 cytokines can be released at the same time. They produce a similar effect, or they can be antagonistic against each other. So we have several classes of cytokines depending on what they do. There are 5 categories. The first category is the ones that mediate the innate immune system. Then we also have the ones that regulate lymphocyte growth. So they cause the lymphocytes to grow. Then we also have the ones that are involved in the inflammatory process. That's why we met cytokines when we're talking about inflammation. Then we also have the ones that help with chemotaxis. They bring the white cells to the site of the infection. Then the last one is the ones that stimulate hematopoiesis. That is the one that helps with production of red blood cells. So in summary, we looked at the various components. Kevin, you didn't close my door. You did. I didn't hear it close. Okay, it's closed. We look at the various components of the immune system. And we looked at the fact that it's also composed of organs, various organs that we looked at. And there are 2 main forms. You have the cell-mediated immunity, which is specific, and then the humoral immunity, which is non-specific. Then we also have cellular components and then soluble components, which are mostly proteins. And then we looked at the fact that there are genetic susceptibilities to disease, which is governed by HLA genes. Okay, so I have quite a lot of references. If there are any questions, yeah, please ask questions. Are there no questions?
Please, if you can go over the functions of the cells, where we said the eosinophil is for the parasitic, and then I didn't get to that one. The
So the
beads.
eosinophils, they are involved in parasitic infections. Neutrophils, macrophages, monocytes, bacterial infection. Then basophils are mostly for parasitic and helminthic infections. And then the lymphocytes, the T lymphocytes deal with virus infected cells and cancer infected cells.
Okay.
Hello, madam.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please, my questions are in two forms. The first has to do with the APC, the antigen presenting cells. Do they have any relation to the B lymphocytes as to how it will get a memory of the bacteria or the antigen so that in future I can be able to fight against it?
So when you
The
take the
relation-
lymphocytes, when you take a B lymphocyte, there are two. You have the memory cells, which have produced the antibodies already. So the antibodies are in the system. Then we have the plasma cells, which produce the antibodies. Now, these antibodies are produced by the various antigen presenting cells. When they present the antigen to the B lymphocytes, the B lymphocytes have the B cell receptors, which recognize specific receptors on the antigen presenting cells. So that is the link between the two of them.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And then the second question has to do with immune tolerance. Does it mean that the compatibility complex is a help for the lymphocyte not to attack the cells of the body?
Yes. When I was explaining about the natural killer cells, I was saying that they have the MHC class 1 receptors. And so when the natural killer cell sees that receptor, it knows that this is a cell of the immune system, or this is a cell of the body. Now, once a virus infects that cell, it loses its MHC antigen, and so then it identifies it or it targets it as a cell to be killed. So what you're asking about is basically in pathology, and we'll look at it more in detail tomorrow.
Okay.
Because immune tolerance means that now the body is able to recognize itself and not act against. And when you have a situation where there is autoimmunity, it also means that the body doesn't recognize its own antigens and fights against them. So we'll look at all those things tomorrow. But I needed to set the tone for you to understand that, so that when we are discussing it tomorrow, it will be easier for you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
So we'll explain more tomorrow, okay?
Okay, madam. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions?
Any other question?
Madam, Madam.
Foster, go ahead. Can you lower the sound in the background, please? Foster.
Sorry. Ma'am.
Okay.
With all things being equal, we don't expect the cancer cells to infiltrate the human body as it is now. So if really the T cells are working very well, why is it that the cancer cells are still in the body and it can't do away with it?
So there are several things that this causes. Now, cancer is uncontrolled cell growth. So that should tell you that once it's uncontrolled, it overwhelms the body system because it is constantly going on at a very rapid pace compared to the body's ability to bring it under control. So that's the reason.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
All right.
Any questions? Waiting for somebody to ask, Madam, won't you invite us to what you are eating?
Oh, it's just PK. PK. PK sweet episode.
It's toughy.
It's not PK.
Because I was crying, I wanted to give it to her, but since she went to have her bath, she's brushed her teeth. So I decided that I would take it myself.
Please,
Madam, what do you
Pardon?
Won't you brush your teeth too?
Oh,
She
I will, but I'm not yet going to bed.
Foster, is this kind of who asked that question?
When you want to get her to brush her teeth, this time she's going to have her bath. So once she's had supper, she brushes her teeth, she has her bath. Then we are done, no more eating.
If I'm a pussy, I'll cry at dawn. I'll take tea.
But surprisingly, she sleeps throughout the night. She doesn't wake up for food.
Oh, that's good.
Then you're lucky, madam.
She's very active, so she will sleep.
Mama, eat Cerelac. Mama, eat this.
Once she takes supper, that's it. So usually for children, if you don't treat them that way, they'll stop. I mean, the earlier times she used to wake up that she'll say something, she wants to eat, or she wants Cerelac or something, and then I'll just give her water to drink and she'll go back to bed. And so eventually she realized that
Oh, on stubborn to me. On stubborn to me. And can obey me many heart, you give me what I want.
Hello, madam. Please, I have a question.
Yeah.
Please, I want to know why the HIV patient, you know that the CD4 count is sometimes low. What happened to the CD4 8?
The CD8 is not, there's no problem with the CD8. It's a CD4 that is affected. The CD8 doesn't have any issue.
And it doesn't function as well.
So the CD8 cells, they are cytotoxic cells, and they are supposed to kill the virus infected cell directly. Antibody is drastically reduced, and so that is what will lead to all those opportunistic infections, because the antibodies are produced by the CD4 cells. If you can't produce antibodies, then it means that your immune system is open to any infection that comes in, and that is actually the problem with HIV. It is not the fact that the virus has infected the CD4 cells, it is the after effect of that, whereby the CD4 cells are unable to function to produce antibodies to protect the body. And so any infection at all will end up causing havoc.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Any more questions? We are okay. Are we okay? This is our 14th lecture. We have one more lecture, and then we are done.
Any other questions?
We have a lot to learn. Madam, the lecture they are giving us, but the learning there. I accept.
I know. Study or the other.
But I don't know how consider it.
No problem. Consideration is our you know.
Or consider now sending Nipa life so I can consideration, my boy.
We nonsense.
Any more questions? Are we okay?
Yes, Doc. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Itola.
All right, Doc.
Itola, are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay. Yes, come in. Okay, what is it? The tablet is over there. Are you okay?